Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for the slight brief pre-live appearance. Just checking you're on your toes and awake. So the purpose of this quick live is just really to give you some information about Capture One 15.3. It's an official release number, which is coming tomorrow. So everything you see in the next 20 minutes or so, I don't intend taking up too much of your time, will be available to download tomorrow, just after lunchtime, I would think, in Europe, if you are across the pond. So without further ado, let's get on with it. I'm just going to bring up a list of what's coming. There's about 7 odd different improvements which are coming tomorrow. So if you need to rush away quickly, you can read this list and be gone. We've got a few things changing with Capture One Live, so that's a longer time that you'll be able to keep the live session open for. Easier watermarking on live, one of the top requests. The ability to comment on pictures too. Currently that's in beta and is just on the web version, but I'll give you a show of how that works. We'll obviously need to get ready for the iPad. So the ability to transfer from the cloud to Capture One, that will also be added. Sony wireless tethering, so certain Sony camera models you'll be able to shoot wirelessly like you can with Canon. It's super simple to set up. Magic Eraser, a new tool. If you know what the Magic Brush is, then I'm sure it's fairly obvious what the Magic Eraser is, but that's also added. And then finally, a change to the tool tabs in the default workspace and how you can customize and how they look and so on. So without further ado, let's switch over to Capture One, and then any questions, do fire them across and then I shall answer them as they go. So first of all, let's deal with the new tool tabs, because otherwise I'm going to be talking about Capture One with different tool tabs and you won't know what I'm talking about. Let's bring up the mouse locator so you can see where I am. Okay, so if you're not completely blind, you will have noticed a difference to the tool tabs along the top here. So this is how they look by default. For those of you that have already taken a look at the iPad, let's just bring the iPad up for a second and turn on the overhead camera. It's all going well today, isn't it? You can see the icons over on the right hand side just above my head. They're also going to match Capture One. So that's step one. The second step is that they have some text underneath, so it's easier certainly for new customers. Oh, let's just go back to the default. There we go, that's how the default looks. So it's easier for new customers to see or figure out intuitively what's in those tool tabs, rather than looking at small icons that might not make a bunch of sense. So that's how it looks by default, but you've got some other options where you can change it to something that you're more familiar with, to customize, which to be honest, I all hope you would do anyway. The whole benefit of Capture One is really the customization. So part of this process is to encourage you to actually do some customization as well. I was worried that my Wi-Fi is on. Let me just turn that off for a second and make sure we're on the cable network. So that you get the best upload speed. Okay, for the live streaming. So that's how it looks as default, as I said. Now, a couple of things to point out. So if you have an existing workspace, it's not disappeared or gone away, don't worry. So if you look up in the window menu here under workspace, you'll find your backup from the previous version that you had installed in Capture One. So if I would switch to this for a second, let's just go over to that. So now you're going to see that change. Now, if you have the tool tabs as the larger default, you're going to see an arrow here, and then you can look at your other tool tabs. If you don't like the larger tool tabs and you want something more compact, you'll see that we've added these 3 dots, and we can go in here and go to icons only compact, like so. And then it's pretty much the same as it was before. You can customize. Obviously, if we hover over the top of this one, I can command drag to move these around, or alt drag if you're on PC. We can right click to add whatever tool you want in any tool tab, all the same as before. If you prefer the larger icons, then you can just switch back to icons and text. There's also a little hint to add different default tool tabs here as well. You can place the tools on the right if you wish, and you can navigate to all your workspaces as well. So if I go to my workspace which I built, then this is the arrangement that I have, like so. So not really a major change, but nice that it syncs up with the same iconography as Capture One for iPad. So when you're switching back and forth, it's going to make a lot more sense. It's going to help our new customers, and those of you that are existing, you can do all the same customization stuff as you've done before, and it's a little bit easier. Okay, questions? I think we are good so far. So let's move on. So tool tabs. Going back to the top of my list, let's talk about Capture One Live. So, oh, actually, I don't have a Capture One Live in my default. So let's go back to the default workspace and put those icons and text up like so. There we go. And let's talk about Capture One Live. So Capture One Live, if you don't know what it is, it's a way to very, very quickly upload a collection of pictures to the cloud. Your client slash collaborator slash customer can then add color tags and star ratings which sync directly back to Capture One, either when you're live or if you quit Capture One, they can still go ahead and do their star ratings and color tags. And then that way you can open up Capture One later and then see those adjustments sync across all those star ratings and color tags. So a couple of changes based on your request. So let's go into Capture One Live. We're going to share this. We're going to set up a Capture One Live collection. So let's go in here and I'm going to choose this one, which is under here, Capture One Live collection. The first change we've made is we've extended it up to a maximum of 1 month. So if you want to share a Capture One Live session online for a month, then you can do so. Formerly, it was 2 weeks, I believe. So let's just change that to a month. You can add a password if you wish. But the difference here is that we've got some now watermark settings. So you could add a watermark before, but it was a little bit cumbersome. Now what you can do is pick up one of your watermarks from one of your available recipes. So these are all my export recipes, and the one which has a watermark enabled is highlighted. Now if you're not sure how to set up a watermark, let's just have a quick look at that. So if we go into the export window briefly, you'll see my recipe here. If I scroll down, we've got our watermarking option here, and this is how it looks. I've just drag and dropped on a watermark into the drop image here spot, and then arrange the watermark as I wish, size, opacity and positioning and so on, and then that's ready also to be used in Capture One Live. So if I go back into my live one here, let's choose that collection, this one here, Capture One Live. We're going to set it to a month, why not? And then we're going to choose that recipe which has that watermark built in. Okay, and then I'm going to start sharing. Let's copy that link. If I go to Safari and open up a new page, put that link in, and then if I open up one of the shots, you can see that watermark there, like so. So straight away, that's popped in. So as I said, even though you could manage that before in Capture One, it was a little bit more cumbersome. So now it's much, much easier to set up a watermark. Okay. Next thing for Capture One Live. So tomorrow we're going to turn on watermarking. Sorry, watermarking. You can tell I haven't slept for a few days. For those of you who've been following myself and Ambassador Paul Reefer on YouTube last week, we've been going around Iceland, putting the iPad through its paces, shooting some content, taking some pictures, but most of that happened overnight. So I haven't slept a great deal in the past week, which is probably reflected by the quality of this stream so far. So I do apologize. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to turn on commenting. So let's just pop into one of these shots, and then you'll see down here under the star rating and the color tags, like so, there's a little comment box. So we can tap that, we can type in something, great shot, like so, and then send that across so other collaborators can have a look. Now currently this only appears on the web page. Now we know it makes more sense to have those kind of things pop up in Capture One as well. It is just in beta release at the moment, and then based on your feedback and how it goes, we can look at how to improve that service further. All right, any questions? Let's see. Just checking, someone was asking about sound. Hopefully that it's all right on my end. We haven't had any other complaints, so if the sound is bad, please let me know. The shared images, they have the same dimensions of the export recipe? No. So it's essentially exported to a format. Let's just go back to this one, which makes sense for Capture One Live. So you see I can double click to zoom in, like so. We can scroll through the pictures. I can have my star ratings, which sync back to Capture One, or a color tag. I can also use keyboard shortcuts as well if I wish. So lots of ways that you can use Capture One Live. You can see this star rating color tag here. If we go back, you can see that sync directly to Capture One. But you don't have to worry about the size of the image or any of those things. It's literally just set up the watermark how you like. The image sizing is set specifically for Capture One Live. Okay. Sound is good here. Good. So I'm glad that you can all hear me. Okay. So we've looked at commenting, we've looked at the easier watermarking, and then that time is extended up to a month now as well. Now we need to get ready for the iPad as well, because that's coming soon. So on the iPad, let's just flick over to iPad display. So I've got my iPad connected here, and then you can see that also on the screen. This is just the same feed that you're seeing, like so. So what we need to do is to give you a mechanism to get pictures from the iPad into Capture One. Now you can do that in a manual process, which means you can export EIPs and then use iCloud as an example to get them over to Capture One with adjustments. But to be honest, it's much, much easier to do that via a cloud service, which we do. So under here, we've got 5 pictures which I've added to an album. And then what I've done is simply upload that to the cloud. And away you go, simple as that. Now all we need to do then is retrieve that in Capture One. So let's bring Capture One back up on screen. Can hide the keyboard now, we don't need that. So also up on the toolbar is Cloud Transfer, this little icon, which is not much use to you now until you get the iPad version. But if you wonder why there's a Cloud Transfer button sitting on your toolbar, or equally if you don't see it, you'll find it here in the customization options, Cloud Transfer. What this does is simply pull an album down with all the edits that you've done so far in Capture One for iPad. So if I click on this, it's going to find my shared albums in the cloud. So let's choose my Iceland picture and choose a folder to import that to. So let's just stick that on my external hard drive here, Iceland trip 2022, and say open and import those shots. And then what Capture One will do is pull that down from the cloud. Oh, you can see my activities window is on the other screen. So it's pretty quick. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 raw files. And then you see the previews are being updated with the adjustments that I've put into Capture One on for the iPad. So you can see my adjustments like so, cropping. If I hit C on the keyboard, you can see the crops that I've done. The church here has had obviously a bit of keystone correction, which I did in the iPad, and then various other adjustments that you can see as well. So it's super speedy just to pull that down. As I said, you could do it by exporting an EIP from the iPad, importing that into Capture One, but to be honest, this is the much, much faster solution. So that's Cloud Transfer. If you're wondering what that means, that's all about Capture One for iPad. Okay, next. I said we'd move through this nice and quickly. What we've got next, if we just bring this up again. So Capture One Live we spoke about. We've got ready for the iPad Sony wireless tethering. So for those of you that shoot Canon, we've already added wireless tethering for certain Canon supported models. And the next manufacturer that is up is Sony. Now there's not much I can show you because unfortunately the Sony camera which I had with me last week I've had to send back because it was a rental camera. But it's super simple. My best advice is really to go to the Sony support page, look up wireless connecting. You don't need the Imaging Edge application, so ignore the fact that it's Imaging Edge. It's exactly the same process. Now, depending which camera you have, it's slightly different on the menu system, but basically all you're doing really is connecting your Sony camera to your network or connecting your Sony camera direct to your computer. And then in Capture One, all you need to do is you'll see it pop up here. So then you'll see your Sony camera pop up here, and then you can go ahead and shoot. So easy. I had a quick test the week before last on a Sony a7 III, and I have to say I was super impressed with the transfer speed. It was really, really good. So if you do have a Sony wireless camera, you don't need any other specific equipment. If you check our support pages tomorrow, you'll be able to see which ones are compatible. But it's, you know, the A7R Mark IV, the A7 Marks 4 and 3, I believe. You know, those flagship cameras which are likely to want to connect wirelessly. But as I said, it's super simple. The speed I was really impressed with. You don't need any other special equipment. You either need to connect to your home network or direct to your computer, both of which is well covered in Sony support documentation. And we will update ours to reflect that as well. But speed is great, reliability is good. Just go ahead and give that a try if you are a Sony customer. Last question, or last thing to talk about is the Magic Eraser, which if you've used the Magic Brush, I'm sure you'll be fairly experienced or be able to guess what the Magic Eraser does as well. Before we get to that, just a question from Arthur. Any planned support for OM system tethering? It's hard to say. If you're looking for support for any particular camera brand or model like that, then make a support request. And then that way we can easily see how many people want to have support for a particular camera, and then we can look ahead to adding support for that. But please make a support request on our support pages, and then that way we know what you guys need. Okay, there was another question from Arash. Do we get wireless option for Nikon also? Not currently. So currently it will be Canon and Sony. And as I said, if you want support for Nikon or other manufacturers, please let us know with the support request at support.captureone.com, because all of those requests are logged, and that way we know how important it's to our customer base. Just checking for other questions. Andy says, I found the... Let's just make your comment a bit smaller, Andy. I found the Sony wireless connection page a bit confusing. I thought I needed the Imaging Edge app and then got bored. No, you don't need it. Just follow those instructions to connect your camera to your network, either directly to your computer or via your router. I've done both, and performance was pretty good on both. I guess if you're on a really crowded network, you might find better performance going direct, but otherwise both ways worked pretty nicely. But you don't need Imaging Edge. All you need to do is get your camera on the network. And even if you don't look at any instructions, it's pretty intuitive on the back of the camera. So it either says direct connection or connect to network, and that's it. Alex says, can you please share a link with the wireless supported cameras? Yeah, Diego, if my colleague who's watching, I don't know if our support page is updated as yet, but it will be tomorrow, Alex, with a link of all the supported Sony cameras. Oh, here's a good timely question. Is there any way to keep images on a memory card while tethering with wire? That's also a minor update to 15.3 for Canon. It's already possible with some Fuji models. It's just an option in the camera. It's already possible with some Sony models. It's an option in the camera. And now we're at it for Canon cameras as well. So this way you can shoot to the computer and to the card at the same time as well. Cameron, will there be a mobile version for Android? Not at this time. There's various reasons for that, not because we don't want to or anything, but the way that it works with the iPad is that quite a lot of the coding that we've already done, we can transfer to iOS. Not easily, to be honest, but to work with Android, we would have to completely rewrite everything. And based on the research we did before creating Capture One for iPad, then we found out that the overwhelming majority of our customers are also Mac users. So I know that's not good news for you, Cameron, being an Android user, but currently it does not make sense to produce an Android version as well. Let's just check. Is the Fuji X-H2 supported in the new version? Yes, it's already supported in Capture One 15.2.2, which came out week before last. So yes, the X-H2S is supported, but not wireless, just cable connection. And I think that's good. The date it will be in store. It will be in store tomorrow, so the 14th of June. So 14th of June tomorrow, probably just after lunch, you'll be able to download that and get started. Okay, that was a little segue for questions. Let's have a very quick look at the Magic Brush, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to figure out how that works. Let's just grab a different shot, or Magic Eraser, I should say, not the Magic Brush. So we've rearranged this tool slightly. It was actually visible all last week if you guys were watching, but no one picked up on it. So we've got brush tools, gradient tools, the healing cloning tools, and then the erasing tools. And the very last one is the Magic Eraser that you can see here. So it just works in reverse to the Magic Brush. Nothing much more I can say about that. But if we look on this particular shot, if I grab my Magic Brush, right click, I'm going to set this to sample the entire photo because it's a little bit fiddly to sample all of the blueberries, or grapes, sorry, not blueberries. So that's sampled, pretty much grabbed all of those. I can probably grab a little bit more there, but now I've got a problem that it's selected a bit too much. So what I can do is grab the Magic Eraser, make sure it's not set to sample the entire photo, and then I can just erase bits that I don't need, like so. So it just simply works in reverse, but that's been a customer request which has been around for a while. So we could get rid of that bit, get rid of this bit, and so on. So you get the idea. It's exactly the same as the Magic Brush, just works in reverse. It has its own adjustments for opacity, tolerance, and refining the edge. I tend to find when I'm erasing, I boost the tolerance up a little bit just to make sure it doesn't miss anything that might be out of the color range because of an earlier refined edge, but otherwise it works in exactly the same way. So not much to say about that, except for that it's a great addition and it should help you along with your editing as well. Okay, just checking on for a last few questions. What about more utilization for Mac Ultra? Well, we're always looking at optimizing Capture One. There's actually a little feature in here. Let's just hide my mask for a second. Oh, two other things. First of all, something I'm really happy about is this, and you might wonder, why am I pointing at this? But this is your mask visibility settings. So how you control how you see the mask, whether you see the grayscale mask, and so forth. But before, certainly when you were using, let's just delete that layer, when you were using the Magic Brush, quite often would happen, you'd start drawing your Magic Brush thing, or squiggle, and then forgotten that you hadn't turned your mask on. So now what you can actually see if the mask is on, even if there's no mask. So if I clear that mask and press M on my keyboard, you can see that little icon now highlights whether the mask is on or off. So before I start magic brushing, I can see, my mask isn't on. So let's turn my mask on by pressing M, draw my magic brush mark, and now I can see it select immediately. Otherwise, you then weren't sure, did my magic brush actually work? Oh, I didn't have my mask turned on. So that's a small little update there too. Another mask icon, tend to agree, best update in this release. It's super useful, because I always found that step annoying. So I lobbied my colleagues for that to please make that happen. In terms of performance, as can't remember your name, sorry, Anze was asking, there's a couple of optimizations in here which have snuck in, one being rotation smoothness. So rotation was a little bit jerky on some Macs. I think it was fine on PC, but it wasn't super fluid in terms of the frames per second you got when rotating. So now it's buttery smooth. So that's just a little example of speed and power optimization. It took a little bit of a hit on the M1 systems, I think. That's now been cleaned up. So we're always looking to improve those kinds of things. Pascal says, great quick win regarding the Magic Eraser. Yeah, it actually came out of something called Play Week, which we have, which means the R&D guys and girls get to do whatever they want for a week. They have a number of different ideas that they want to go for, and then they pick one and head for it. And Magic Eraser was part of that Play Week, because a developer thought, well, we've got a magic brush, makes sense to have a Magic Eraser too. So that is part of our Play Week output. Alex says it would be nice to turn automatically the display of the mask when using the Magic Brush Eraser. We did think about that actually. There was lots of discussions on how this icon should look, how it should behave, all kinds of other bits. You do have only display mask when drawing as an option. How that behaves with the Magic Brush, I haven't actually tried it. No, it doesn't in that case. But to be honest, what we found by looking at various different analytics, that most people default to manually, or they want to have the manual ability to turn the mask on and off. But if that's something you want, Alex, then once again, make a support request and then we can help you out with that too. I would like to toggle between mask on, off and auto mask off. Yeah, I think that's also something which I pointed out. So I know what you're talking about, Tim, like be able to set a shortcut for this as well. It's one of these slight oddities that you can't change the shortcuts here, but I know that's also been discussed as well, but good point. All right, that brings us to pretty much the end of this short live stream. So as I said, it was just going to be a basic one to give you a recap of what was coming. To remind you, Capture One Live, so that was the increase to a month, commenting in beta, and easier to add those watermarks based on your export recipes. The ability to pull down that cloud transfer from your iPad, of course, so we're ready for that. Sony wireless tethering for certain models. Check out the support page tomorrow, which will go live and you can see which ones are supported. But give it a go, it's super simple to set up and the speed is really good. Magic Eraser, as you just saw, and the new tool tabs as well. Question from Martin, cloud transfer, does that work both ways from iMac to Mac and also Mac to iPad? Currently it's iPad to Mac only. So the idea being, of course, is that you start your work on Capture One for iPad, you do your adjustments, so let's just muck around with exposure for a minute. So you do your edits and adjustments, do your ratings whilst you're out in the field, upload to the cloud, and then transfer to Capture One Pro when you're back at home. So that's the current workflow that Capture One for iPad supports. Obviously, we know you guys always want more. So we're also looking at adding further features like tethering is going to come to Capture One to iPad first of all, and then other tools, and then think about the long-term future of syncing and so on. No new things in styles? Nope, not currently. That was a question from Megan. What kind of things do you want? I think that's the important thing to ask you. Is there AI subject auto masking coming? In terms of AI, then that's always a hot topic. I personally would like to see useful AI coming, something that gives the photographer back more time. In terms of AI masking, then don't forget the Magic Brush gives you lots of options to mask pretty quickly. So in terms of AI, I'd say the only disadvantage of AI masking is that unfortunately you don't get much choice in the matter. So if I just pick, you know, some random picture like this as an example, and I wanted to select out the sky, then it's a pretty easy job for the Magic Brush to do so. So if I just grab Magic Brush, make sure my mask is turned on, now I can see that it is. Let's just make that a bit bigger and then just do a little squiggle here. As an example, Capture One will then calculate what it needs to do, and then we can start filling in the areas like so. Now the problem is with AI masking is that sometimes it doesn't necessarily identify what you feel the subject to be. So the Magic Brush is really, really fast to use, and then you can quickly mask large areas like so without really any difficulty. And because I had sample entire image set, you know, it's filled in the bits inside the boat, inside all these little pieces as well. So that was a pretty fast way to build that mask. As I said, the problem with AI stuff, it's not 100% foolproof all the time. With the Magic Brush and the Magic Eraser, you get fast masking and the control over that as well. Let's see. So if I use iPad and Windows desktop, it doesn't work. Definitely, you don't have to use a Mac. So you can cloud transfer from the iPad to Windows as well, definitely. So don't worry about that. There's no cloud transfer subscription price. You subscribe to Capture One for iPad, which is currently set at $4.99 a month, US dollars. The App Store will convert that to your local currency. But it's not a charge for the cloud service. It's obviously a subscription for Capture One for iPad. And as Matthew says, our product manager, yes, it works on both Mac and Windows. What is the address for suggestions? support.captureone.com, and just create a support ticket, and there's a category for feature requests, so just go ahead and do that. And everything is always categorized and logged and goes to product management, so it's not a waste of time. It doesn't disappear into some database black hole. It syncs automatically with the system we use, which gauges public opinion, so do go for that. Sony wireless tethering to iPad. Give us a chance. We've only just added Sony wireless tethering. So when tethering for iPad comes later on in the year, it will be cabled first. Okay, just to make that clear. So cable wireless, cable connection first. Okay, is there limits on cloud data? There is, Danielle, but I can't remember specifically what it is at the top of my head. So maybe one of my colleagues could jump in and let me know. It's not on a certain number of gigabytes, so it doesn't matter if you have a 100 megapixel camera or a 20 megapixel camera. It's based on the number of photos that can be in the cloud at any one time as well. Romy, how about batch editing for portraits? Is that fairly fast? Depends what you want to do, Romy, really. But any batch editing is fast in Capture One. So you've got speed edit that you can use, copy pasting adjustments from one photo to another, all kinds of things you can do for portraits. Skin tone editing, skin uniforming, I'd say Capture One is definitely a big benefit if you're doing portraits. Okay, everybody, so remember, go grab that tomorrow. So that's a free update for existing Capture One 22 customers. If you're on an older version of Capture One, then you can go ahead and upgrade just by logging into your account, and then you'll see what upgrade options are available to you. But anyone on Capture One 22 or on a subscription, it's just a free update for this version. So lots of good stuff in there. You'll certainly enjoy using the Magic Eraser. Those little performance increases as well. Nice new additions to Capture One Live. So go ahead and give it a try. Oh, and Matthew has just popped up. 1,000 images at one point in the cloud, but if you remove them after transfer, you essentially get unlimited transfers. So it's not like we're capping you at a certain number of megabytes, gigabytes, or whatever. It's just 1,000 images at any one point in the cloud. So there we go. So thanks again, everybody, for joining me. Go grab that update tomorrow, and I will see you again this week, no doubt, if you're signed up for this week's webinar all about exporting. So take care and see you soon. Bye now.